to begin with, if you're not familiar with Alarm Lock and the DO windows, our software is free. So you can go to our website and you can download the software. So what you would do is go to alarmlock.com. You click on the resources tab, and then in the middle under the tech support, you would click on software. That'll take you to the NAPCO Technologies library, specifically to the Alarm Lock software. You can also filter down to just DO windows. You can see we have several versions here. If you are currently have an older version, anything below 4.1.96, and you want to upgrade to what I'm going to be showing you today, which is the 5.5.3, then you will need to incrementally upgrade from your existing version up to 4.1.96. And then from 4.1.96, you can go to any of the versions, the 5.1, 5.2, 3, 4, or 5. 5.5.3, like I said, is the latest version. It came out last year. It has a lot of new features and functionality specific to the networks locks. That seems to be where everybody's going. Most of our new additions to the software are going to be towards the networks, because we can upgrade the firmware of the networks locks. So if you're not registered for the site, then you'll need to register, fill in all of the information, don't leave anything out. Only check Alarm Lock as your brand of interest, or Alarm Lock and Marks. These two are the only two that are automatically allow you to register without having to be vetted and so forth. If you check NAPCO or Continental or Gemini or iBridge, they're going to have to approve you, and that's going to delay you being able to download the software. So you create your own username and password. Make sure you check I'm not a robot and click on register. Then you'll be able to go in and download the software. So you just click on download, enter your username and password, and then you can download the software. Now, once you've downloaded the software, it'll be in a zip folder. So you're going to right click on that folder and you're going to extract all. I like to put mine on the desktop so I know where it's at, but just, at least remember where your software is at. Once it's extracted, it'll be in its own folder, DL Windows version 5.5.3. Just open it up and you'll have several folders and documents here. Now, everything, for some reason, everything has to be installed separately. Okay, so even if you're not putting the software on a server, you're going to put it on a laptop or you put it on a standalone desktop or whatever, you're going to run the server installer. Okay, you're going to make sure you run that server installer, and then you're going to right click on it and run as administrator. That helps take away most of the issues that, with installing. So once you run it as administrator, you run through the process. Depending on your processor speed and things like that, it can take anywhere from, I've seen it take 2 to 20 minutes to install. So the server installer will install both DL Windows and the Microsoft SQL Express 2012 database. So you need both of those. If you're going to be using the PCI cable, you need to run the drivers, which are the CP210 drivers. So you're going to run those drivers. It's not plug and play, okay? And then if you're also going to be using the PRE2, which is what I'm going to be showing you today, you'll need to run those drivers as well, okay? So it would be the USB Express installer for your 32-bit or 64-bit computer. Once all of that is installed, okay, you're going to have a little icon on your desktop that's a DL Windows 5. Okay? So before we get into that, I'm going to show you a couple of things on a PowerPoint here, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Now this device is our PRE2. It's our prox reader and enroller. So what it will do is it will read the prox card information and put it into the software. List price is $590, but it's a real nice item to have. Now the PRE2 it uses a USB cable and it's USB powered. It has a target for the standard prox card, which is here on your on the right, and then for the I-class locks and cards, you're going to use the smart target. So that will put the information from the cards. It'll read it and put it into the software. Now, the PCI cable is necessary if you are going to be programming the T3 locks, not the networks. You don't need this for the networks locks, but if you have a DL2800, a PDL 3000, or whatever type of standalone walk-to plug-in lock, you have to have this cable to program it using the software. The list price is $237. It comes with a little USB extension here, because this USB end that plugs into your computer can be a little wide depending on how your USB ports are set up. The other end of the cable is the one that plugs into the lock itself. So you have the prong with the black tab on that side. That prong goes into the black port. Underneath the lock, under the keypad, there's a red and a black port. So you're going to plug your cable, these two prongs, into those two ports. So the prong with the black tab associated with it goes into the black port. Now, if you don't want to have to carry your laptop around to each lock, then you can get a DTM, a data transfer module. Again, list price is $448. This data transfer module can hold upwards of 200 different lock profiles. So you just use your PCI cable, the previous picture. You're going to plug it into the DTM and download the programming into the data transfer module. You can see that the prong with the black tab here goes into the black port, and then the other one goes into the red. The DTM has its own cable, which has the prongs on both ends. So you'll take one end, plug it into the DTM, take the other, plug it into the lock, and then you upload the information into the lock. Now, if you're using a laptop directly, then you have to put the lock into what's called a program mode. Okay, so you have to put it in program mode, and then from there you have to put it into PC communication mode, which is the procedure on the screen. So you're going to put in your master code, which is usually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for a brand new lock, and then hit the AL button. Let the beeps stop, and I'm going to show you all of these procedures on the keypad with the sample lock I have on the desk. Then once the beeps stop, you're going to hit the AL, 5, 8, and star. That puts it into PC communication mode, so you can take the information from the laptop directly through the PCI cable into the lock itself. Now, if you're using the data transfer module, then you're going to have a DTM download code programmed into the lock to be able to use the DTM in a brand new lock that's never been programmed. So you would have to add a user credential, which is the function number 2 at the keypad, into user slot 299, which is the data transfer module download code, and then enter either the PIN code, or you can use a prox card if the lock has a prox reader on it. Okay, so I'll show you all of those procedures when we get to programming the locks. Well, let's go ahead and do this next one then. We also have the capability with our T3 locks to add what is a wireless remote release. So with the receiver on the left, you take that receiver, you tie it into the lock. There's 2 white wires coming out of the back of the lock. There's 2 white wires on the receiver. You tie those 2 white wires, one to each. Don't tie them together, just tie them one white from the receiver to the lock and the other one to the lock. And then you plug the receiver in line with the battery pack. Now on the back of this receiver, there's a little gold button. You'll see a hole and a gold button. You just push, that's your programming or pairing button. So you push that button and then you pair the transmitter to the receiver. We have the single button transmitter and we have a 4-button transmitter. The 4-button transmitter, I can pair up to 4 different locks to a single transmitter. With the single button, it will only pair to 1 lock at a time. Now the transmitter also, or the receiver also allows you to have it set up to where it's either momentary release or toggle passage. Just follow the instructions that come with it. I know we never follow instructions, but just follow the instructions. It'll tell you how to change it from momentary release, which is the default function, to toggle passage. So, and I'll demo, some of this when we get to that. Okay. So that's the, I'm going to stop sharing here and then go back to my screen so everybody can see what's going on. Right. So we have the software downloaded. You'll have the icon on your desktop, which is the DL Windows 5. I already have it open, so I'm going to close it out real quick and show you what it looks like when you open it. So you just double click on the icon, brings up a window. You have different users that you can actually have in here that have different logins for the software. It will show up as the administrator for your initial installation with no password. It's intentionally left blank. Okay, so you don't have to put a password in here, just click OK. And that will open up the software. Okay, now on the left-hand side of the screen are your accounts. We can have multiple accounts, somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 different accounts. All of the information inside a single account is separate from other accounts. Okay, so you don't have to worry about mixing of users, lock profiles, and everything into a single account. You can have different accounts. So if you're a locksmith and a dealer and you're maintaining a system for a customer or multiple customers, you can have multiple accounts and each one a different customer, and you don't have to worry about one individual or one user from one account and mixing into another. Now we can have or copy basically a user from one account to another, and I'll show you some of those features. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to kind of go over some of the tabs and some of the drop down menus, kind of show you where some things are at. Under the file drop down, you have new account, which is where you would create a new account. You have sort tree by lock name. Now what that does is, when you first create an account and you start adding lock profiles, the first profile that you add will be number 1 and then number 2. So if you want to sort them by the lock name, alphabetical order, you can just click on that and it'll change it to the lock name. Now everything, your numbers are scrambled. Okay. Or you can sort it by the lock ID number. Okay, so that's what that is. Now the audit trail, what this is this is an audit trail for the software itself. We've added this into the new version of the software, and for some reason my software is taking its own sweet time. So here's the audit trail of the software. So you can see if everybody has their own user name and user login, then it would show, of course, everything is done by the administrator here, but it would show who the operator was that did whatever action at whatever location or lock profile, and then tell you what they did. Okay. So, and then the date and time. So this is a nice little option here. You can choose the description to sort and filter, location, operator, or action. So if I wanted to say the location, I want to see what all has happened at the CEO's office, then I can filter, by that. So it shows only, well, that says CEO's office. So this shows only what has happened at the CEO's office. So received the log, updated the date and time, added a user here, whatever the case is. So this is a nice little feature, and this is the audit trail. Now, the event log is for the locks. The audit trail is for the software. Okay. Also under File, you can exit the software if you want to from here, or you can use the X in the corner. Under Options, it just says Show Options, which is this little gear icon here. So it would open up your options. You have a few options here. We have an ambush code in our locks, so you can set up an ambush code. There's a global users custom field, and you can change the label name of that, and I'll show you where that is in the global user screen. Other options here, the big one is the database backup. Okay, you can have the software remind you daily, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly as far as a reminder to back up your database. And then in the green here underneath that is the path where that backup file is located. So I got a couple of questions here. What is an ambush code? Okay. Ambush code is, excuse me, is an option that we have. So say you have the lock on the exterior door, somebody comes up and they put a knife to your back or a gun to your back, and they say, open the door. I'm robbing you. Okay. If you have it set up correctly, we have a relay in the lock that if you enter this ambush code and you have it set up correctly, and I'll show you where all of this is, then when you enter that 2-digit ambush code that you predetermine what it is, you use that 2-digit code and then you enter your credential at the keypad. It activates the relay, which you have hardwired to your panic alarm, the panic side, the panic input for your alarm system, and it also opens the door. So the bad guy doesn't know that you actually, push the panic button. So that's what an ambush code is. That allows you to do that, right? Under Tools, this is where you're going to be spending a lot of your time, is under Tools. This is where a lot of your operations are going to be. The Manage Users, those are your users for the software. So if you're going to add additional users in, just click on Add, put in their name, give them operator or administrator credentials. So an operator can do can only do certain things in the software. You decide what you want them to do. The administrator has full administrative rights. They can do whatever they want to in any account. You decide, give them a password, 4 to 12 alphanumeric characters, and then confirm it, and then you have a new user. Now, as far as the privileges, you just click on Set Privileges and then choose their name, and then you give them the privileges you want them to be able to do. So right now, I have 5 accounts in my software. John Doe can only see if he were to log in with his credentials, because he's only enabled for the DL Windows class. When he opens up the software, he won't see these other accounts. They'll disappear. It'll filter them out. And then you can decide, and it describes what each one of these is, whether you want them to be able to communicate with the locks. If it's a networks lock, do you want them to, system, do you want them to be able to configure new gateways? Do you want them to be able to add and edit users, set and view PIN numbers, create schedules and change features, or add or edit locks? You decide what abilities you want them to have. Okay, so that's nice to have. Now, I would recommend that you have at least 2 administrators, especially if they have their own passcode, their password. Because if you only have 1 administrator and they leave and nobody knows that password, then nobody can go in and make any changes to these users. Only an administrator can add, delete, or change users. Okay, so have at least 2 administrators in the software. The set security password. What this does is this is very important for both networks and the T3 locks. For each account, you have to set a security password. And this will help to lock up, basically, puts that security password onto that account so someone can't come in and they can't take over the locks if they don't, with another version of software. So I can't walk into the facility, plug into it, and get any information out of the lock if I don't have that same security password. Okay, so you have to do that for the account before you can actually program the locks, whether it's a T3 or a networks. So I'll show you that when we create a new account. Again, set operator privileges. You can get there by doing, just clicking on that rather than going through the manage users. The COM port setup and test. Now, this is going to be important for your PCI cable, for your prox reader and enroller, any of your peripherals that you're going to be using. So you have to do a COM port setup and test, and I'll show you that when we get to that portion of the session. This is where you restore and back up your database also. Very important. If you have a database, backup, and you need to put it onto another computer because your old computer crashed, then you would take that database and then you can restore it from here. Okay, it's like you never lost anything. Import, export accounts. This is handy if you need to export an account. So your customer now decides that they want to take control of the locks. So you install the software, you export their single account out of your database, and then you import that into their database, and now they can control the locks. I don't recommend having 2 computers, that are not connected to the same database operating the accounts. So it's not wise to have you maintaining the locks and your customer maintaining the locks at the same time, unless, because your databases are going to be different. So if you go in and make changes to the locks, you've erased whatever they did, okay? Because you may not have that database. Can backups be done automatically? Good question. Actually, no, they cannot from our software. But here's an option for you. It's called SQL Backup and FTP. Okay, this is a free software. You go out, just Google, SQL Backup and FTP, and when you load it in, it's a free program, and then you can actually set up the database to be backed up to a thumb drive or an SD card or a cloud or whatever you want. You determine what database from what account or what server goes to what location and how often you want it to back up. If you pay for this software, then you can get an email confirmation that it actually ran, and you can see all of my backups here. I have it set up to back up once a week, on Saturday mornings at 2 a.m. So my next backup will be on the 24th, Sunday mornings at 2 a.m. And you can see all of my backups here. Okay, so that's a free software that you can go and get off the internet. Will there need to be a SQL Server database upgrade when going to the latest version? Yeah, basically there is. So I'll cover that in a few minutes. Let me get through the rest of the tabs here, and then we'll go to that. So import global users, export global users. So this is going to be a quick, easy way to import your users for your accounts. If your customer has an Excel spreadsheet that they can save as a CSV file, then you can import the names without having to type them in. You can import PIN numbers as well, but not prox card information. Okay, very important that you realize that you cannot import prox card information. So if your customer is using prox cards right now, you'll have to manually enter those in or use your PRE to add the cards in. You'll have to read them. There's too much information. We can't pull that information in. Okay. Wireless actions, this is for the networks. I'll talk about that tomorrow if you come back tomorrow. And then help. And the help is really not a whole lot of help. Okay. It does give you a little bit of information about the DTM. It supports up to 2,000 lock IDs and holds approximately 200 PDL locks, or approximately 1,000 DL, 3,000, so forth. So that's really all it is. The alarm lock on the web, that's just a link that'll take you to the web page. And then about, this tells you, what it's running on, what if it's mine happens, I have Windows 10, but it's actually running as a Windows 8. Tells you what version, where the database is, that's the path of the database there, and so forth. So not really a whole lot under help. But under some of these other little icons here, the communication, this is where you communicate with the locks. If it's a networks lock, you would click on communicate with selected networks lock. If it's a T3, you're going to send to or receive from lock. So you send the database and then you receive the event log. The lock icon, this just shows you the lock data screen for that lock. It tells you all of your users that you have programmed into that lock, their user number, which is going to be important when we get to the scheduling portion of the session today, because you can schedule a specific user, but you have to know what their user number is. So if I want Peter here to have a specific schedule just for him, then I have to know that Peter's user number in the storefront lock. It's important also to know that Peter may not have the same user number in each lock. Okay, so Peter's number in another lock down here, we'll just go to the back gate. See, Peter's not even in this lock. So let's see if I can find Peter somewhere else. Well, there he is, Peter. He happens to be number 16 in this one as well. So, but it can be different from in different locks. Shows you their PIN number, unless you have the PIN numbers hidden. Shows you the prox card information, the card code, the type, and the facility code, what group that they're associated with, and whether or not they're enabled at the lock. Now, whether if they're enabled, like Tom here, Tom is enabled, but Chris is not. Chris is assigned to that lock, but his credential is disabled, so he can't open that lock. I did have a question here. Is the user number editable? No, it is not. Okay, the user number is not when you go into the global user screen, which we're going into next, then it will automatically assign that user number. You cannot edit that user number. Okay. You can also communicate with the locks from here, from the lock data screen as well. There's a communication drop down here. The group enable, a lot of people ask about this. If I uncheck all of these boxes, anybody that's associated with any of these groups, which we only have 4 groups, then they are automatically disabled at the lock. Okay, I have to turn them back on by checking the boxes here. So, this is one way that you can disable the groups, and really this is the only thing that you can edit in this screen. So you see it says, please make all changes in the global screen. So I can't add users in here. I can't change PIN numbers, prox cards, group association, or enable, disable. Won't let me do it. I have to do that through the global screen. Okay. Another question. Is there a way to group locks so you can send to all of them at once? Okay, we're awake this morning. Is there a way to group blocks? Well, we don't have access groups, okay? But as far as the user number, I'm assuming you're talking about, if you add all the users into the locks at the in the same order, then they will be added to the same user number in all the locks. Okay, that's kind of a difficult question to answer. Okay. But yeah, I mean, you can clone the locks. If they're the same lock type, you can clone it, create one, and then clone, and then they'll all be in the same user number. But over time, by adding and deleting and removing users and adding users, you're going to be changing those user numbers around. The schedule view we'll talk about in a little bit, but this is where you create your schedules, your lock, unlock schedules, your user group, enable, disable, and all of your different schedules. The features we'll talk about after the schedules, but each lock has different types of features, each lock type. So some locks will have all the features that we have, some won't have hardly any of them at all, but we'll talk about those. The log, this is your event log for the lock. Okay, so this is where your event log is, so you can see everything that happens at that lock. You can see that this particular lock model, we actually have a power saving mode, so we can turn on and turn off the network's radio antenna and save battery power. Okay, we can filter by user number, name, or event, just like we did with the audit trail for the software. We can filter inside this event log. We can print it, we can export it, we can do several different things, from that. The DTM screen is a screen that will show you all of your DTM locks, the ones that can be programmed with the data transfer module, all your T3s. So if you wanted to send the programming to all of these locks that are checked, then you just program the DTM and then you can send it, take the DTM out to the locks. If the power saving mode is on, can a user unlock the door? Okay, the only thing a power saving mode does, and only certain networks locks have that, but all it does is turn off the radio for programming and the remote release. Everything else, it works exactly the way it's supposed to. Okay. Global. Now, this is where you're going to be spending a lot of your time, because this is where your users are going to be. This is where you assign them to the lock. You add your prox cards and everything else. So we'll come back to this in just a minute. The wireless, this is for the networks locks, and then the gateway config is for the networks locks, and we'll talk about those tomorrow. The emergency, again, for the networks, and we'll talk about those. And we've looked at the options tab. Okay, so you're probably not going to have any accounts over here, so we need to create an account. Now I can go under File and click on New Account, or I can right-click my mouse in the account area, and I have the same options as I did under File. New Account, sort tree by lock name. Then we have Refresh. Now what the Refresh does is, if you have a server workstation type of situation where you have one computer that has the main database, and you have workstations on the same network that are connected to that database, I may be working on the software, you may be working on it on another workstation. So for us to have the same information, you just click refresh, and it'll refresh and bring in all of that information that maybe I put in that wasn't there before. Okay, but we're going to click on New Account. You're going to name the account, and then you're going to click OK. Now the account name can be the entire company. It can be a building in that company, or in that facility, or whatever it is you want it to be. Here are the limitations to our accounts. Okay, each account can hold 10,000 users in the global user screen. It can hold 2,000 lock profiles. And if you're using networks, it can have 50 gateways. Those are the limitations. That's the maximum amount of each of those. 50 gateways, 2,000 lock profiles, 10,000 users. Okay. So if you're going to go above that, those numbers, then you need to separate the company into multiple accounts. Okay. Just click OK. It tells you you need to create a new lock profile. So we're going to click on yes. Now this is the most important part. Okay. Because if you don't get the lock type and the lock profile created correctly, you're not going to be able to communicate or program it. Okay. So we'll say this is the back door. Okay. I need to tell the software what type of lock it is, because we have the DL2800 and we have all of these different lock types. Okay. So we have DLs with the numbers on the back side, and that's the model number, the 2800 3032. So DL means that it is a keypad only lock. Okay. It only has a keypad. You can't use procs with it. So DL 28, 32, 45, 61, so forth. We have DLs in the exit trim. So the ET is going to be for your exit devices. We also have the PDLs, which are procs and keypad. Okay, so we have the ET PDL. That's a procs and keypad lock. Has both. We have the PDLs in the different lock models, the 3000, 35, 53, 63, and so forth. And then we have the PLs. Okay, that's procs only. And we do away with the keypad and we put the procs reader up where the keypad would be. So we have a PL 3000, we have a PDL 3000, and we have a DL 3000. They are not all the same. Okay. If they are the same lock, you'll see that we have two here that are the same lock. Okay, but you can configure it in multiple configurations. But these are networks locks, and those are the only. We have the PL 3500 and the ETPL. Those are the same lock. Okay, that's the only ones. Those three are the only ones. So the lock I have on the desk is a PDL 3000. So I need to choose PDL 3000. Now, the number of locks to create. I can create multiples, again, up to my 2,000 lock limit. What I do most of the time is if I have, say, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of this particular lock model, and my users are going to be the same or similar, my schedules are going to be the same or similar, things like that, then I'm going to create one profile. And then once I get everything created in it, I will clone that lock profile. Okay. Or, you can create, we'll just say, well, I'm going to create 2 just to show you what it'll do. So if you look under the ABC company account over here, when I click OK, I now have 2 locks. They're both PDL 3000s, and they're both named backdoor 1 and 2. So I'm going to close out of the global for just a second. I can rename these locks. Okay. If I right click on that lock profile, I just come down to rename. Okay. Then I rename it. Maybe this one is, instead of the back door, it's the front door. Okay. And then I take out the number 2. So now I have my back door and my front door. Now you noticed when I right click, I can create new lock profiles. I can clone the lock profile, or I can delete it. So this is where, once I get this lock profile created with my users, the schedules, the features, and I get it completely done, then I can right click on it and clone it. And now all of my users are in the same location. All of the schedules are the same and everything. It just makes a carbon copy of it. It doesn't mean that once it's copied, you can't change it or adjust it. You can. It's just a quick, easy way to add multiple lock profiles. Okay. So once you have your profiles in, you're going to have to go in and add your users, and you're going to have to set everybody up under the global. Okay, so this is the global users. Now this brings me to an important fact here. There are two terms that we use, or that I will use, throughout the session today. One is global and one is local. And I'll use them again tomorrow with the networks. Global, if it says global users, those are the users for the entire account, not a specific lock. Okay. If I say something is local, it means that it's for that one lock profile only. So when I create a schedule, I create the schedule local to this lock. Doesn't mean that I can't add it to another lock, but when I create that schedule, it's local. Okay. So we'll talk more about the schedules in a few minutes. Okay. But I wanted to make sure everybody understands the terms global and local. Global users for the ABC company. That's the account inside the square brackets. So if I come over here to the DL Windows class, notice that the square brackets changes. This is the DL Windows global users. This is the DL Windows class global users. The networks test, same thing. Okay. Right. Now, let's look at the global screen here. We have several areas here. We have the users list on the left. This is a read-only list, okay? I cannot type in any information here. This is a read-only list. There are 100 blank spots in here for this list. Now, I just told you a minute ago that we can have 10,000 users in the list. Well, there's only 100 slots. When I fill up all 100, it doesn't automatically add another blank slot. Okay, I have to go in and tell the system I need to add more slots. How do I do that? I right-click my mouse anywhere in this list, and it brings up a whole host of options here. But if you go all the way down to the bottom, add a block of empty slots to the list. You click on that, and you can add however many. There's 100 is the pre-filled, okay? But you can add up to 9,885 more slots in this list, okay? 100 is already in here. There are 15 in the administrative users. So that gets me the 10,000, okay? So if I add, say, 100 more, this slide bar will move up and it'll shrink, okay? So I've added 100 more slots. Very important that you understand this, because when we go in and import the global users, you have to make sure that you have enough empty slots created for the number of users you're going to import. Because like I said a second ago, it's not going to automatically add more slots, okay? When it fills up the available slots, it stops. So if I have 500 people I'm trying to import, I have 200 slots, it pulls in the first 200. The other 300 are just out there in limbo. They're not added in, okay? So you need to make sure you have enough empty slots. So that's the users list. Now you can sort the list any of these ways that you want to, okay? I can sort it by alphabetical order, by the custom field. I can sort it by the custom field, and in this case, I have it named as semester. So the last time I created or I changed it, I was making an example of, for a university. They wanted to be able to sort those users by semester, but you can have this at whatever you want. First name, by last name, or by user category. So this is something new that we have, okay? So the classic sort is the way, however you type them in. Okay, that's just the default, the way it is, but by the reference number. Okay, so when I put in a person here into this slot, that's their reference number is going to be number 1. Okay, that's not their user number, that's their reference number. Okay, so I can go over here to options, and I can check the box, show global reference numbers. You can see I have a reference number. This is not, I repeat, this is not their user number for the locks. This is just a reference number for you to be able to, reference that, Jane Doe is number 12. That's for the users list. So I don't, unless you really want this, I mean, this is all this is going to do is show you how many users you have in your list. Okay. So just remember, this is not the user number for a lock. Okay. So I can come over here to the user's information and I can start typing in users' names. I spell my own name. Okay. So once I type that in, that puts their name in. I can type in the address, city, state, zip, phone, all of that if I want to. The user category is something new that we've added. So we have some, in the drop down, we have some pre-filled user categories, teacher's assistant, phys ed, manager, security, whatever you want to, whatever category they're in. If none of those work for you, you can click on the gear icon here and you can edit any of these pre-filled, or you can add more. Okay. Just a nice way. Again, you can filter, you can sort the list by that user category, or you can filter by a search here under that user category. Just makes it easy if you've got 400, 500, 600 people in the list and you want to filter down to just the security personnel, then you can do that. Is it possible to import a list of users using a CSV file? Yes, that's what I'm going to show you next. Okay, that's under the tools. So if you're going to give this individual a PIN number, you just type in a PIN number. Okay, be 3 to 6 digits. Okay, your PIN numbers can be 3 to 6 digits. Not every user has to have the same length PIN number. They can all be different. 3, 4, 5, or 6 digits. Okay, not everybody has to have the same length in the same lock. Now, the Bluetooth credential and the expiration date, those you don't need to worry about unless you have Architect Series locks that have Bluetooth. Okay, so the expiration date is not for a regular credential. I'm working on that. Okay, I'm working on that to have that to where we can put an expiration date on a credential and it automatically disable at the end of that. But that would be for the networks locks only. Okay, because the lock would require new firmware. So if you only have the T3 locks, don't worry about Bluetooth credential and expiration date. Can you add everyone in a group to a group of locks automatically? No, we do not have access groups. Okay, but I can add to all locks. I'll show you that in just a few minutes. I want to get people in, and then I'll show you some of the ways that you can add people to the locks. Okay. If you're going to give the individual a prox card, this is where you would do it. You would click on Add Card. You can either type the information in manually if you know the card code, the facility code, and the bit type, or you can use the prox reader and enroller. Okay. Now, I have an individual in my users list. They have a credential, which is a PIN number. Now I can add them to the lock by double-clicking on the lock profile and turning it green. This gives that individual 24/7 access. I do not have to set up a schedule that says 24/7, like an enterprise access software. We have an automatic schedule that is 24/7. You don't have to create that schedule. So when I give them green access, they're going to work that lock. They're going to be able to open that lock 24/7. Now, if I don't want this individual to be able to unlock the front door, period, then I go from green, I double click again and turn it red. That disables that user's credential at that lock. They are assigned to the lock. You will be able to see in the event log that they attempted to open that door and the date and time. Okay, it'll show their name, their user number, and that they attempted to open that door but were denied access. Green, they will be able to open the door, and again, it will show up on the event log. If I go from red and double click it again, that removes that individual from that lock profile, and it will not show up on the event log that they attempted to open the door. So if you have enough room, depending on the lock model, we have 200 up to 5,000 users. So if you have enough room in the lock profile for the number of users that you need, that you have in the facility, if you can add everybody to that lock profile, I would recommend adding everybody to the profile and then either turning them red or green, depending on whether or not they need access to that lock or not. Okay? Just want to make everybody aware of that. Okay, so I'm going to make it red. Now, the CSV import. Okay, I have a whole bunch of names that I want to add. Some have, PIN numbers. Some I'm going to give prox cards, but I want to import their names so I don't have to automatically or have to manually type them in. Okay, so I highlight one of the blank slots, go under Tools, and scroll down to Import Global Users from CSV. It gives you the format that you need to fill out that Excel spreadsheet. You don't need a header that says first name, last name, PIN number, and all that. You just put the information, put it in. The individuals in cell A are going to be their first name. Cell B is their last name. If you're going to use a PIN number, then cell C is their PIN, address, city, state, and all that. Any cell that you don't want to use, leave it blank. Okay. Save it as a comma delimited or CSV file. And then it also has a note down here. Make sure that you have enough empty slots for those that you're going to import, and it tells you how to do that. And I've already shown you that. So you're going to click on yes. It's going to ask you to go out and find that file. So there's my file. And I click on open. Now I've added all of my users in. Some have PIN numbers, some don't. Okay. Now, the ones that don't, there's a couple of reasons that they could not come in with a PIN number. Number one, you're going to give them a prox card. Number two, if they're supposed to have a PIN number, and that PIN number is already being used in the account, we cannot have duplicate PIN numbers. We cannot have subsets of PIN numbers. A subset is the first characters of another user. So my master code right now is set as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the administrative users. I cannot have a user that has a PIN number of 1, 2, 3, 4 and the master code be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or another user be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is a subset. It will not let me do that. Now, if I use 2, 3, 4, 5, that's fine, because the number 1 is not in there. So the lock looks at the numbers. If it looks at 1, 2, 3, 4, does it open for this user, or does it wait for the other 2 digits for the master code? So that's why we don't allow that, okay? And that would be the reason why an individual, it could either be a subset or a duplicate PIN number of somebody else. Okay, so if I opened that file, you would see that the PIN number 2639 would have been listed under my name, but it imported my name, but not the PIN number. Okay. Now, before I can go in and add cards using my prox reader and enroller, I have to go up under Tools, and I have to do a COM port setup and test for that device. Click on it. Yep, wait. So I'm going to click on Test All, okay, just because I have 2 open ports here. And then I'm going to click on Test. Now, one of these will come back with no loopback data found, the other with loopback test passed. The one that says loopback test passed is the COM port that device is plugged into So I check the radio button and I click set. Now I can use that device to go in and add prox cards. Okay. So if I'm going to use my prox reader and enroller, I'm going to lay the cards on the target here, and then it will import that card information. So I click on add card. I have to know what the bit type is, okay? So I must know what that bit type is. If I don't, and I just choose, say, 26 bit, and I lay the card on the reader, well, I have to enable the box. So I enable ALPRE, lay the card on the reader, and then it tells me that the bit type is wrong. We've chosen 26-bit, but the card was read as a 36-bit. Okay, so I need to go back and change that to the correct one. Got a couple questions here. Can you use the same PIN number from deleted users and use it for a new user? As long as that PIN number is not in the account, yes. Okay. As long as that PIN number is not in this list, I can reuse it. Or I can just type over and reuse that name. Now there is a problem when you use the same user slot. Okay, and I'll explain that later. If you need to change the master code, do you have to dodge the user pin subsets? Yeah, basically you do. Now we can have the system, and I'll show you this in a minute. We can have the system automatically generate pin numbers. I'll show you that in a minute. So, but if you have a specific pin you want the master code to be, I would put that in first, then add the users. Okay. So I've changed my bit type. Now I'll lay the card on the reader, and it brings that card information in. I always double check if the card number is printed on the card. So I've got 850194. So if I look at my card, 850194, always verify that, because if that number is wrong, the card will not work. Okay, so I lay that one aside, and then I go to the Easter Bunny, and then I lay the card, I add card, lay the card on the reader. Okay, again, I verify that number. All right, now say I need an individual. I want to make sure that an individual has the most secure, or all of my users has the most secure credential that we can have. Okay, PIN numbers are fine. I can easily give a PIN number to somebody. Prox cards are better. Okay, because I'm not going to give up my prox card because I can't get into the building. PIN and prox are the highest that we have available. Now, to give someone the ability or the requirement that they have to enter a PIN number and a prox card at a lock, then I give them a PIN number, and then I click on add card, and I can type in the information if I want to. Okay, and then the facility code, or I can read it with the PRE. Okay, that is PIN and prox, not PIN or prox. Okay, we have the capability of doing PIN or prox, but I have to have one user slot that has a prox card, the other that has a PIN number. I can give them the same name, doesn't matter about the name, it's just the credentials are different. So in my case, I can do PIN or card. But in Peter's case, he has to use PIN and card. Okay? Has to use both. All right, now that I've got Happy here, I'm going to give him another PIN number. So it told you that we can auto-generate PIN numbers. So if I right-click my mouse on Happy, scroll up to generate new user PIN, I can have the software generate a 4, 5, or 6-digit pin link, and it will not generate a subset or a duplicate. Okay, it's just a random number that the computer happens to pick. Okay. Now, none of these users that I added under the CSV are added to the locks. So if I want to add individuals to the locks, I either do them one at a time, click on the name, double click, or I can use my shift, click on Lauren here, and then scroll down to my name and highlight everybody in between. Then I can either double click each profile or right click and add users either to all of the locks or to selected locks. So if I'd say add users to all locks, it turns them green for all of the locks. Whether you have 1 or 2,000, it will add them green to all of the locks. Now, Chris, Peter, Rick, and Happy, these I don't want to have access to either lock. So I can right click. I have to add them to the locks, turn them green, and then right click again and disable. Maybe I want to disable to certain locks. So now I have a checkbox. So I'm going to disable them just at the front door. Okay. So we don't have, as one person asked, we don't have the ability to just have a group of locks and throw people into them. We have the add, and we can do it, but it's not as easy as an access group. Okay. So for those that may not be familiar with access groups, what that means is you have an access group for, say, administrative staff. With that group, you throw in the locks, you throw in the schedules, you throw in the users, and you mix them all up, and they're all added to the schedules and to the locks. All, you just throw that person into that group, and they're automatically added to the locks, and they're bound by the schedules that are associated. We don't have that. Our locks are standalone locks, okay? The software makes it easy to go program these locks and to add the users and do things, but we do not have access groups, okay? I have to add the users to the individual locks that I want them to have access to, okay? All right. Now, again, you can use the user categories, you can filter, you can do all of that and make it a little bit easier for you when you're setting up your adding your users to the locks. So if you've got 500 people and you put everybody into a category, then you can filter by that category by going down to the search, checking user category, start typing in, and then it filters out everybody that's not in that category. Okay. Then you can use your shift, highlight everybody and add them to the locks that you need to add them to. We accomplish the same type of things, but it's not as simple as here's an access group, throw the locks in, throw the users in, boom, they're all added to all those locks. It's not that simple, but we can get there. Okay. Now, we do have groups though, okay? We do have groups, and what a group is it gives you the ability to make a single schedule in a particular lock profile for everybody in that group. Now, how do I add people into a group? So I highlight their name, I come down to assign groups, and then I can pick a group, whichever one I want to put them in. Okay. So again, highlight their name, assign groups, and then give them the group that you want them for that particular lock. This is not access groups. Okay. I stress that. It's individual. I can add them into multiple groups in a lock. I don't have to put them in a group at all. So if I don't put them in a group and they are assigned green to those locks, they have 24/7 access. Can you add all of the random pins at once? Yes, you can. Okay, so if I wanted to, I could right click, generate all new user pins, and that will generate a new user pin for every blank slot and every user in this list. Okay. Now, the all is a very dangerous word. We all know that. So generate all, delete all, remove all. Okay. I can highlight. I can right click, generate new user pin, and then everybody I have highlighted will get a new pin number. Okay. Be very careful when you are looking at or using the all. Here's what I recommend. Go in under tools and back up the database. Okay. Before you make any changes to the pin numbers, I've done this. Okay. That's why I say do this. I have gone in and accidentally changed all prox cards. I've changed all the pin numbers and I had no backup. Okay. So if I accidentally go in here and change the new user pins, oops, how do I fix it? Well, I can go in, I can restore the database, and it will bring back everything that I, up to the point to where I saved it. It'll bring all that back. There is no back button. There's no undo button in our software. So just be very aware of that. So if I go back to my global, that's gone back to my latest backup. Okay. All right. Who's got the, Robert, please mute your microphone or mute your phone. Administrative users, okay? These are 15 special users that we have in the locks. All of our locks have these users. You notice that there is no section here for me to choose which locks they have access to. It's because all of these 15 users here are automatically added to every lock. So if I add a credential to a user in this list here, they're automatically added 24/7 access to every lock. So your master code, you're going to go in here and change this, please. Please don't leave it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your managers, your installers, your supervisors, what are they? Well, for software programming purposes, they're all the same. The installers have more capability at the keypad to do things. Okay, so if I go into program mode as an installer, I can do more things than a manager can. I can't do everything because there are certain things that the master code is the only one that can do that. Supervisor has less authority as far as keypad programming than a manager. And that's really the only difference. Okay, otherwise they're all the same. Right? So I add the card or a pin number the exact same way. Just read the card or add the pin here, and it does the exact, put it in the exact same way. Now, the PC download and DTM download, what these credentials are, they are quick access to programming. The PC download, I showed you on the PowerPoint that you had, if you're using the laptop directly or a PC, at the keypad, you have to put in either the master code or manager's credential, depending on which one it is, AL to put it in program mode, and then AL 58 star, okay? If I don't want to have to do that, I can put in just a pin number here, okay? 3 to 6 digits. A lot of people will put 298 because that's what the user slot is for that particular credential. The PC download is always user 298. If you're using the data transfer module, you must have a credential here, excuse me, for the DTM download. You must have, okay? So that was going back to that second part of that slide, the AL2, AL299, that's the user slot. for the DTM download, AL, PIN number, prox card, whatever. Okay. So I'm going to put it in here in the software. I cannot upload to my DTM if this credential is not in here. All right. Now, for tomorrow's purposes, for the networks locks, because we don't use the PC download cable and we don't use the data transfer module, we can use these as another type of credential. And we can use this technically as a guard tour, because neither one of these credentials will open the door. Okay. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, but guard tour just means that I walk up, present the credential to the door, it records on the lock that I was there, but it doesn't open the door. Okay, so we'll talk about that more tomorrow with the networks. All right, any questions? All right, so the next thing that we would do is we would go in and we would assign schedules. Okay, our schedules are lock specific. I can have it affect the lock, meaning lock the door, unlock the door. I can have it affect a user, a specific user in that lock, or I can have it affect a group of users in that lock. Okay, so I can have a lock and unlock schedule. I can have a user enable, disable, a group enable, disable. We also have what some of you may be familiar with, the term first person in. So we have our own version of that. That's called an open window schedule. I'll show you how that works. But I want to show you a couple of the more basic schedules, the ones that are real easy to create. And one of those is a lock, unlock. Okay, I want the door to unlock at a certain time and then lock back automatically. So this is going to be for the front door. Okay, so I'm going to click on the front door profile. I'm going to click on the schedules icon, and it brings up the schedules window. Again, inside the brackets, you see the account and then the profile. Okay, that specific lock. So again, going back to local and global, this schedule that I'm about to create is only for this lock. Okay, I can save the schedule and I can import the schedule and do all that, but this is designed for this one lock. Now the time zone, which is the when portion of the schedule, the time zone tells the lock when to do a particular event. Okay, so we'll set the event down here in the schedule entry, but the time zone is what month, what day of the month, what day of the week, what time to start, and what time to stop. That's the when. When do you want it to occur? Okay, so the schedule we're going to create is going to be a Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. That's the time I want this door to unlock. So I set the set the time for my start to be 7:30. So I hit the drop downs and change it to 7:30 a.m. Do the same thing for my stop, 5:30 p.m. And I do that for Monday through Friday. Now, an easy way to change these times is once you have it changed, right click on it, set all as current. Changes them all. Even though the Saturday and Sunday we're not going to be using, or the all, those three, it doesn't matter, you know. So I uncheck the box for Saturday and Sunday. Now, this schedule will only occur Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30. I've got the when. Now I come down to the schedule entry, which is the what portion. What event do you want to happen during a specific time zone? I have to tell it what time zone. So this is time zone number 1. So I just put this in as, say, unlock front door, or whatever you want to name it. I don't pick a user or group number. I leave that blank for right now. I come over to the event, hit my drop down. I have a few options. I have unlock and lock. I pick out of the unlock and lock, I pick the event that I want to occur at my start time, which in this case, I want the door to unlock at 7:30 a.m. and it will stop unlocking at 5:30 p.m. Okay, so it's going to unlock from 7:30 to 5:30 and lock back. Now I tell it what time zone. I only have one right now, so time zone 1. I can have multiple time zones. Okay, I have more time zones here, but in this event will occur during this time zone. Now, there are a few occasions where you don't want this door to unlock, and it's going to be a scheduled event. Okay, Monday is a holiday, so next Monday I don't want the door to unlock at 7:30 a.m. because we're not going to be there. So I have to create another time zone. So this is going to be time zone number 2, and I'm going to uncheck all of the boxes except for Monday. Now, unless I want this to happen every Monday, I have to tell it what month, May, and what day of the month, 25. Okay. So now I have to set the start and stop time as well. So how do you pick a user number from the time zone? Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. I'm not working with users right now. Okay. I have to set my start time for the exact same start time as the unlock event. So that was unlock at 7:30, right? I don't need a stop time. So I'm going to right click and I'm just going to clear all of them to make it easy. So now Monday, May 25th at 7:30 a.m., that's my time zone. That's my win. Now I'm going to come down here and Memorial Day 2020. Now, I do this. I put in the year in the description because you don't see a calendar here. You don't see every the third Monday of May. I have to set it for a specific month, day of the month, and day of the week. So I can only go out 364 days in advance, 1 year. Okay. Yeah, I know there's 365 and sometimes 366, but I can only go out 1 year in advance. So I cannot set this for 2021 because May 25th will not be on Monday in 2021. So I have to adjust my holiday schedules once a year. Now I come over and I pick lock for my event and then time zone number 2. Okay. Now I have created these schedules, but I have not assigned them to that lock yet. To do that, I have to generate and either open the schedule view or generate and close. I like to look at the schedule view. That will tell me everything that's going to happen in that lock. Okay. So if I do that, then these are the events. Okay. Our locks work off of trigger events. Okay. That was my next point, Eric. Does lock always supersede unlock? Yes. Lock always overrides.
COPY.com and give us both your phone.
Robert, would you please mute your
universal file format is P.
Thank you. So lock always overrides unlock. If it occurs at the same time and the same day of the week, then it will always override it. Okay, you have to set them for the exact same time. Because these are trigger events. Okay, these are not just an all-encompassing thing. So if I set this holiday schedule here, this holiday time zone for midnight, then yeah, the door will lock at midnight, but it's also going to unlock at 7:30. So it has to be the exact same time so the lock can see I want to override that unlock event with this lock event. Okay. So it has to be the exact same time. Now, Tuesday morning, it'll turn around and unlock at 7:30. Okay. Now you go through and you set up all of your holidays, or however many you have, 10, 12, whatever it is, and then you're good for the rest of the year. Okay. Now, there is a way that you don't have to set up all of these holiday events. Okay. I'm just going to go over here to the back door. You see when I go to the back door, my schedule entries disappear. My time zones are still there. My schedule entries disappear. So the schedule entry is local to the lock. The time zones are global within the account. I can reuse the time zone as long as I don't make any changes. How do you remove the stop event for the holiday lock? Okay, right click, clear all. Okay. All right, so on the back door, I don't want this door to unlock unless a supervisor is there or unless a manager is there or whatever the case is. So this is going to be a first person in type of schedule. Okay. So this will prevent you from having to create all of those holiday schedules. And the way it works, it takes both a time zone, like the unlock time zone with a start and a stop, and it takes like a holiday schedule time zone with only a start time. It takes both. So I'm going to go with a new time zone, number 3, and say I don't want this door to go into unlock unless someone shows up, and I don't want it to unlock until unless an individual shows up inside a window of time. Okay, so that's what we call the open window. So say 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's going to be my window. Okay. So I'm going to set all as current. Again, right click, set all as current. So this is my window. At 7 a.m., the lock will start looking for an individual that is assigned to group 1. Okay. Doesn't matter who it is, as long as they're a group 1 person. It will start looking at 7 a.m. And if a group 1 individual shows up between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m., which is when it stops looking, then the door will automatically go into passage mode at that time. So if I show up as a group 1 individual at 7:25, as soon as I present my credential, door unlocks right then. It doesn't do it at 7:30. It doesn't do it at a future time. It does it right as soon as that group 1 credentialed person presents their credential. Okay. Now, I do this. That's my time zone. That's the when. We'll just say Monday through Friday. Okay. You describe it. We'll just say open window passage. Now I come over to my event. Again, I do not need a user or group here. Even though group 1 puts it into passage, I don't put group 1 in here. I come over to my event and I pick passage mode by group 1 open window. Time zone, number 3. All right. Now this is half of the schedule. I've told it when to go into passage mode if group 1 shows up. Now I have to have another time zone. I right click on the stop times and clear all of the stop times.
Close this Monday, right?
Huh?
We close this Monday, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I clear my stop times. And then now for my start time, I tell it when I want the door to lock back. Say it's 5:30 p.m. Okay. And then I set all as current with the right click. And it's Monday through Friday. Now I describe it as lock door at 5 p.m. Under the event, I pick lock and then time zone number 4. Let's look at the schedule view, see what it shows here. So I have Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. The window opens for group 1. Okay, window opens for group 1 to go into passage mode. At 10 a.m., the window closes. If someone from group 1 puts it into passage mode, then at 5:30 p.m., the door locks. Okay. All right. Does everybody understand that? Now, with this situation, I don't have to worry about all of those pesky holidays, because if nobody shows up in that window, the door stays locked. If you're up in the Northeast or the upper Midwest where you get a lot of snow in the winter, maybe you can't show up. Maybe nobody shows up, door stays locked. Otherwise, with a regular passage mode, it would open. Okay. So those schedulable, I think I said that right, events, you don't have to worry about with this type of schedule. Okay. Now, let's go back to the front door real quick, where we did the unlock. So we've got the unlock, we've got the open window passage mode. Those are set up a little bit different. Now, to set up a group schedule or an individual user schedule, those are set up the exact same way as an unlock schedule. Okay. So we're going to let's say we're going to reuse this time zone, number 1 and number 2, okay, for our holidays. Number 1, instead of unlocking the door at 7:30, I want to enable group 1. So I pick number 1 out of the user or group number, and now my events change. I enable group. And then for the Memorial Day, the holiday, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to disable the group. Okay. So it's the same setup as your unlock and holidays, but the events have changed. Okay. So now Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m., I enable group 1. 5:30 p.m., I disable group 1. On Monday, May 25th at 7:30 a.m., I disable the group. Okay. So it's the exact same setup as an unlock schedule. It's just a different event. I'm affecting a user or a group number versus affecting the lock by the lock and unlock. Now, I have a janitorial staff that comes in Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So maybe I don't want to, since I only have 4 groups, okay, I don't want to waste a group for 2 individuals. Okay, I want to just set up a schedule for those individuals only, but not a group. So I have to determine what their user numbers are. So I just click on the lock icon, bring up that lock data screen. So I've got, we'll say that Happy and Rick are my 2 janitorial staff, numbers 21 and 22. Okay. So I create a new time zone. They come in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And they come in at 6 p.m. and they work until 10 p.m. Okay. So I'm going to set all as current, right click, set all as current. 6 to 10, Monday through Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now, we do have a right click on the enable. So we have some quick options here, Monday through Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, that type of thing. Okay. All right. Is there a limit to the amount of time zones set? Yeah, 200 or so. I doubt that you're ever going to run out. Okay. Now, this time zone that I've set, Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. is going to be specific for user number 21, work week, janitor, whatever you want to name it. Now I pick their user number 21, enable user, time zone 5. Now that's just one out of the two. Now how do I pick the other one? Do the same thing. User number 22 on a different line, enable user, and select time zone 5. I can reuse the time zone multiple times. Now if we look at the schedule view, wow, that really jumped them up there. Okay. So user number 21, I have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, enable at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. And then user number 21 at 10 p.m., disable. And then 22, enable and disable. So these, again, these are trigger events. So if I program this lock right now, group 1 is enabled. Okay. I've added them to the lock, made them green. Their codes will work. At 5:30 p.m., their codes will not work, or their credentials won't work. We're turning them off at 5:30. If I program the lock after 5:30, that group will be enabled all night and all day tomorrow until 5:30 p.m. Okay, so that's something you have to think about. If you program the lock for a lock and unlock schedule, and you tell it to unlock at 7:30 a.m. and you program the lock at 9 a.m., that door is not going to unlock until tomorrow morning because it's already past that trigger point. Okay, so just be aware of that when you're programming the locks. These are trigger points. The lock does not look at these two as a window, so to speak, and say, oh, we're supposed to be unlocked at 7:30 a.m. It's 9 a.m. I need to unlock. It doesn't do that. Okay, it has to see that trigger. So I've got 15 triggers in here right now. So if I go in and add another, some more schedules for group 2, group 3, group 4, other individuals, all the holidays and everything, you can see how these quickly add up. Now, just for reference, the DL 2800, the DL 3000, and the DL 3500 have 150 scheduled events. All of the other locks that we have that have scheduling capabilities, you can have 500 scheduled events. Okay, here's 15. So just be aware of that. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the back door. Well, before we do that, any questions on user or group schedules? Okay. So we're going to go over to the back door here. We had our open window schedule for passage mode. Okay. We have another type of open window schedule, which is called enable group 4 by group 1. Same thing, set up the time zone the same way. So it's time zone number 3. That's my window, okay, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. But instead of going into passage mode, I'm going to enable group 4. And on time zone number 4, instead of locking the door at 5:30, I'm going to disable group 4. I pick number 4, and then I pick disable group, time zone 4. So it's set up the exact same way as the passage mode, but it is a different type of event here. So if I open the schedule view, group 4 is enabled by group 1 starting at 7:30 if group 1 shows up. I'm sorry, at 7. So the window opens at 7 for group 1 to enable group 4. The window closes at 10, and then if they're enabled, it disables them again at 5:30. Is the 150 event limit a daily limit, or does that include any scheduled events for the year? That is your limit for that lock profile. Okay. I can only put 150 of these trigger points in those 3 locks at any given time, a maximum of 150. It's not a daily limit. It's an overall limit for the lock. Okay. All right. Any questions on scheduling? Other questions on scheduling? All right. If you're typing, I will answer the question. I will need to move on. I'm a little bit behind. All right. So we have all of these schedules that we can do. We have a couple of features that I want to talk about now that will eliminate passage mode schedules. Okay. Automatic passage mode schedules. One of those features, under features, and the features are lock specific. Okay. Click on the features, come down to the group entry modes. If I check the box group 2 toggles passage mode, then that's exactly what it means. Anybody that's in group 2, when they present their credential to that door, it will toggle either into passage mode if it's locked or out of passage mode if it's in passage. Okay. Doesn't matter which person in group 2, any group 2 person can toggle passage. So instead of having to set up a schedule that says unlock the door at this time and lock back at this time, and having to worry about those unforeseen events that no one's there, now you don't have to worry about it. Group 2 toggles passage mode. Pretty simple. Okay. You can have group 2 enable passage mode, and then a different group, group 3, disable passage mode. Okay. So what I like to use this for is just for the group 3 disables passage. Say you do have a schedule that says unlock the door at a certain time, or the open window schedule to unlock passage or to unlock the door, put it in passage. But you have a snow event, or you have some kind of event that makes you need to close the business or close that office and leave. Down along Florida, the Gulf, you have hurricanes, and up the East Coast, you have hurricanes. So, hurricane coming through, or a snow event or whatever, and you need to leave now. Okay. But you can't because the door won't lock back until 5:30. Well, you have a special credential assigned to group 3, and that will disable passage mode. You just walk out the door, present that credential, whether it's a pin or a code or a pin or a card or whatever it is, to the lock. It will unlock the door for 3 seconds and then lock back, and it will disable passage mode. Now, it will not disable passage mode for tomorrow. It just takes it out of passage mode today. Okay. If it sees that trigger event to unlock tomorrow, it's still going to unlock. But that's a way that you can lock the door in case you need to leave early. Okay. The other way is with the remote. Okay. We have that wireless remote release. You can use the wireless remote release as momentary to buzz somebody in, or to toggle passage mode. Either way. So there's another way that you can put a lock into passage mode without having to have a schedule. Okay. Now, the relay. I did mention the relay under the options for the ambush. Okay. You have to come in here and you have to check the box, ambush function activated, pick your 2-digit credential, wire the wires. There's a yellow, a blue, and a green. It's normally open, normally closed, and common. You wire the appropriate wires to your alarm panel to the panic button, the panic side. And then if you enter that ambush code, it will trigger that relay to close the circuit, and it will activate your panic alarm, your silent alarm. Okay. It'll also let you open, it will open the door as well, as long as you enter your credential. Okay. So you have that option. You can have on a failed entry attempt or a disabled user attempt, you can have that connected to a video camera and a recorder. And on either one of these that triggers that relay to activate, it turns on that camera, the recorder, and it starts recording, because it's not recording 24/7. You only want it to record if there's a failed entry attempt or a disabled user attempt. Okay. Yes, you have the event log that shows the user's name, but maybe it was a PIN number that was used and it wasn't the same person. Okay, something like that. You can use it as a door annunciator on an authorized entry. You can have the light, a bell, a buzzer, whatever, go off to notify that someone's going through that door. So we have a lot of things that we can do with the relay. Not many people use it, but it's there. But not every lock has that capability. Okay, so I'm going to scroll over here to a different account. Since the DL2800 is a very popular lock, that's the base model. If you look at the features, it doesn't have anywhere near the features. It doesn't have the group entry modes, the group 2 toggles passage. It doesn't have a relay. Okay, it only has the remote, and the remote is only momentary release. You can't toggle passage. So you need to make sure that whatever model that you have has the features that you want it to have. Only one relay is available for these lock options. Yes, there's only one relay. Okay, only one relay in the lock. That's an output. We have the input, which is those 2 white wires. I don't know, Perry, I don't know if you can split it or not. It depends on what the maximum output is. So you'd have to look at the numbers on that. But you'll have to look at the locks that you have or that you think that you might want to purchase. Because like I said, the DL2800 doesn't have all those features. The DL3000 doesn't have, it has the relay and it has just the momentary release, but it doesn't have the group 2 toggles. Okay. The DL3200 does. It has all of those options. Okay. So you need to look at the different lock models that you think that you might need or your customer might want. In the back of our full line catalog is a nice little 2-page graphic that has the features along the left side and all the lock models across the top, and then you can determine what you need. We also have some counter mats that you can have if you have a counter that that has all those options on it. Okay. Now you got everything created. You got everything done for these locks. You've got your front door. Say you have another door that's going to have the exact same options or features or whatever, schedules, users, everything, and you want to clone it. So you just right click on clone lock profile, name it. We'll just say this is front door as well, front door 2, and then PDL 3000. Even though the drop down is here, we do not recommend that you change the lock type. Okay, it can cause some real issues, because if you go from a PDL 3000 to a DL 2800, that's going to just make some, it can cause a whole lot of issues. So clone only to the same lock type. You can clone as many as you need. And when you click OK, there is your cloned lock profile. And then anybody that was red at that front door is going to be red, but it doesn't mean that you can't change it. Okay, you can adjust. It's going to have the same schedules. Okay, but again, you can adjust those. You can change those. Okay, that's cloning. That's pretty easy. Now, I'm going to start programming the locks because we've got everything done. that we're going to do with these locks. And I'm going to take my PCI cable. I'm going to plug it into my computer. Now, I've got this plugged in, but I must, just like I did with the PRE, I must do a COM port setup and test. So without plugging in the cable, you don't plug the cable into the lock. You leave it out, leave it unplugged. So you got the tab there for the black port. Leave it unplugged. Then you go up under Tools, do your COM port setup and test, just like we did a minute ago. I know it's COM4, just because it is. I know that. So I'm just going to test COM4. Loop back test passed. I click Set. Now I'm ready to go program the lock. So I highlight the profile. I go to my lock. I plug it in. Let's show you this again. So I plug it in. You can see the ports here. That one's black. That one's red. So I plug it in. Then I prepare my lock for the programming. So the master code on this should be, oh, it's not. Okay, 654321. All right, and then AL, that puts it into program mode. I have to hit AL 58 star. That puts it into communication mode. You can see the lights flashing between red and green, green and then red. Then I go to my my software, go under communication, send to lock. I'm going to send everything and click start. Oh, incorrect security code found. Okay. This lock has been programmed before. Okay. It has a different security code. Number one, I haven't set the security code, so I need to set it. It's a 6-character alphanumeric letters and numbers. Okay. It's been set successfully. All right. So I know that's a different code, so we'll just try it again just to be on the safe side. Nope. It's come out of program mode, or it's come out of mode. So I'm going to put this back to factory default. Should have done that before. Factory default is AL99 AL000 star. That's when you're in program mode. Okay. So you put it into program mode, AL99 AL000 star. That will default the lock back to factory default. Okay. Now my code is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. AL. And then AL58 star. Got my red and green flashing. Okay. Got it hooked up. Click start. It verified the lock model. Now it's programming. Okay. Really simple to do. Just make sure that you have your security password set. If you don't have the security password set and you forget, it'll get to the schedules and it'll stop. Okay. It'll start programming the users and the schedules, then it will stop. It'll give you errors for the features, the group status, and the time and date. Okay. Now the lock is still in program mode, So I unplug it. See, it's beeping in the green light. Just hold down any button for a few seconds. Now it comes out of program mode. I can use my credentials. Okay, there's my card. It opens the door. Here's my card with the PIN number. See how it's beeping here? I present the card. It's waiting for the PIN number. 9834. That code is disabled, or that credential is disabled. That's why it gave me the beeps. This is my group 2 card. Present the card. It's gone into passage mode. It should lock after 3 seconds, but I toggled it into passage mode. Still open. I present the card again, and it locks the door. So now the door is locked again. Okay. So That's a couple of those features that I showed you. All right. Now, I'm going to show you how to set up the data transfer module. Okay. If I was going to retrieve the event log, I can, with the PCI cable, then I could go up under and receive from lock, choose the event log, plug it in. And now that I have that, that PC download code in the lock, that's all I have to put in it. So let's do that real quick, just show you how that works. So I've got my cable plugged in. I don't have to put in the master code and then AL58 or AL and then AL58 star. I just put in that PC download 298. See how the lights are flashing back and forth? Now I can go up under communication, receive the event log, and start. And now it's pulled the log. Okay. See how it shows everything. Master code, or I'm sorry, manager's credential. Peters, user disabled, access denied. Easter Bunny, toggled it into passage mode. They disabled passage mode. So you can see everything that happens at the lock. You know, before with the AL58 star, I had to take it out of program mode by holding down a button. With the PC download, I don't have to do that because it automatically comes out of program mode. Okay. I'm going to unplug, and then we're going to go back to the software real quick. And now we're going to look at the data transfer module. Okay. That's the DTM. Now, I can set it up to where the front door, I can either send the program or receive the log. Don't try to receive the program. This is not what you think it is. Okay. A lot of people think that, oh, I can receive the program. I can receive the prox card information. I can receive the PIN numbers, the usernames, and all that. No, it will not. Okay. It will pull some information out of the lock, but not everything that you need to build a lock profile. So I wouldn't even worry about receiving the program, just the send program and receive the log. Okay. So say I'm going to receive the log. Check the box. Now my program DTM is available. So what I'm going to do is with my DTM, oh, I meant to turn on my light. That helps. With my DTM, I push the green button, it turns it on. See where it says lock mode, yes or no. Lock mode means that this lock, I'm going to be programming a lock that has a lock ID number in it. It's been programmed at least once. This one has, so that's what we'll be using. But I don't need that yet. I have to put it into PC communication mode. So I'm going to click no. Door select mode. Okay, what door select mode means is that this lock has never been programmed. Okay, and I'm going to force the information into the lock. So the lock mode asks the lock, what's your lock ID number? And then the lock says, well, I'm number 2. The lock mode goes through its files and says, oh, here's door number 2. Here's your information. Door select mode means that I'm going to tell the lock what number it is. It's never been programmed. It doesn't have a lock ID number in it. So I'm going to force feed that lock information for door number 2 into the lock. Okay. But that's not the mode we need. We need PC communication mode. So I'll take my cable, and the black tab goes into the black port. I'm in PC communication mode. And then I'm going to go back to my software, and I'm going to click on program DTM. Okay. Now you can see that it says communication in progress. Comms are complete, and then the date and time. Okay. Now I take the other end of my cable. I plug it into, get away from there. I plug it into my port, and then I have to punch in at the keypad or the card my DTM download, which was $2.99, but I have to go into lock mode. So I click the button, push the button under yes, plug in, then enter code. Okay, 299. Door 2 detected. Now it's programming a lock or pulling the audit trail or doing whatever it is you've told it to do. Okay, so it's going to pull, I'm pulling the log, so it's going to pull all of those events. It's going to pull up to 40,000 events because this lock will hold 40,000 events. So it's pulling all of that information. When it's done, it'll say complete or whatever. We will come back to the computer. We'll plug it into the lock or into the computer. That comms complete, and we're done. So now we're going to unplug. We're going to go back to the computer. We're going to plug in, and then we're going to receive data from DTM. Don't forget, we have to put it back into PC communication mode. Anytime we're connected to the computer, we have to do PC communication mode. All right, so then we receive data from DTM. It's going to go through the process. It's going to pull all the information, and then it will put the event log into the log file. Okay, now it's complete. Click close, open the log file, and you can see we use the PC download. That's a DTM or guard tour timestamp. The DTM guard tour timestamp, no entry. Okay, that's what I was talking about, and we'll talk more about the guard tour tomorrow in the networks class. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? No? Okay. So what I want to do is show you, go back to our website here. Under the resources, we do have a few areas for some training. We have a seminar training page. That's where you signed up for these particular sessions. Got the networks tomorrow, the Marks high security cylinders, mechanical hardware, lifesaver, and lockdown next week. Also under the resources, I have a tech corner or a technical blog. Describes, I put in, technical information when we come out with new things, like back in March, how to disable the users during the COVID-19 crisis, how to do things like that. If you want to enter your email address here and click subscribe, you won't have to go back and you won't have to go back to this page. It'll automatically go to your inbox. I also have a YouTube channel. They don't have a direct link, but they do have some of the videos here. But if you go to my YouTube channel, it is youtube.com/c/alarmlock. I have about 40 some odd videos here, how to use the PCI cable, DL27, 2700 keypad programming, several videos here, so go in and subscribe to my channel there, and you'll be notified when I put in new videos. What's my question here? Will we be able to look at the recorded version of this presentation for review later? I am working on that because this is Zoom. This is the new way that we're going to be doing it. So I'm going to be trying to figure out how to get those videos on. It is being recorded. I may put them on my YouTube channel. That's probably where they will go. That way you can access them there. It'll probably take me a week or two because I'm going to edit, take out, the long introduction, the long time, and then I'm going to edit the video. But yes, it will be available. What else do we have? Also under the resources, you can get access to the technical library. We have instruction manuals, templates, tech notes, tech tips, things like that. We have the brochures, so if you need spec sheets, you need a catalog, there's the catalog, the price book, that says 2017, it should be the new one. But any of the spec sheets that you need, you can download and print off for the lock models you have. Like I said, the instruction manuals. You can get the manuals here, the architects, firmware. We'll talk more about firmware tomorrow, but have access to pretty much anything from the resources tab. Okay. So if there's not anything else, I do appreciate your time today. I'm going to stop sharing real quick. So I appreciate your time. If you do have any questions, let me throw my email address up here so you can send me an email. There's my email address. Feel free, send me an email. I'll help you out as best I can, get you some answers that you might have. If you have questions about what kind of products that your customer might need, I can help you there or help you get in touch with the local rep.